Hi Martina, welcome to the studio.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for coming. I know you're a busy person and honoring this invitation means a lot to me. First off, can you tell us about yourself, where you're from, and how long you've been practicing in law, and as well how long you've been helping people with this kind of issues?
Okay, so I'm from Prague. All my grannies and grandpas are from Prague, so I was born in Prague and since that I'm living in Prague. And next month is going to be my 20 years since I started to be a lawyer.
Wow,
so,
congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm focused in real estate, and most of my clients are expats.
We are so glad that you can help expats, because I know it's really hard for them when they come here and they find people who do not speak English in most of the needs that they need. So thank you for doing the work that you do.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so the big elephant in the room, we are talking real estate, and I know every expat has a horror story when it comes to renting or a landlord or stuff like that. So I think I will start with an easy question. First off, to tell us the renting process and the contract signing and what people should look out for when it comes to stuff like that.
When you find the property that you like and you want to move in, so it basically depends whether it's offered by an agent or whether it's direct contact with the landlord.
Okay.
If it is done by intermediate of an agent, so it's much better for you because the property is checked, you can be sure that the landlord is the landlord, but you have to pay the fee to the agent.
Yeah.
There are some agencies who ask the payment from the landlord, which would be the most fair and the best one, but unfortunately most of the agencies ask payment from tenants, the future tenant, and some of them ask payments from the landlord and the tenant, which is not legal. So always ask about this, whether they are not charging the other party as well, because
scams everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's everywhere. So you pay the fee of the agent, which is usually 1 month's rent. Then you are asked to pay the first rent, and you are asked to pay a deposit.
Okay, so if, for example, the apartment is 20,000, you have to pay 60,000.
If the deposit is 1 month's rent, it could be up to 3 months.
What?
Well, in my practice, I have not seen three months deposit because it's too much for people. So
but 2 months, some I think do 2 months.
2 months. Usually it's one month or 2 months, depending on the situation, how the property is equipped, if there is furniture, or if it is really empty. If it is a new one, that where everything is perfect.
Wow.
So they usually ask for two months deposit. So it's really a huge amount at the beginning.
Okay, so let's say they ask 2 months deposit, so you have to pay the rent for the month you live in, the deposit, which is 20,000 as well, and then 2 months deposit, so that we are going to 80,000 now.
Yeah.
Where does this money come from? Because also the salaries are pretty low here.
It's really crazy.
And to me, this was a culture shock because I've never had something like this, especially the fees. Deposit, yes, we also do deposit, 1 month deposit. But when it comes to the fees that the real estate charges, that's ridiculous. Usually real estate fees are a percentage of the rent. Like, for example, they will say, it's 20% of the rent. That's the real estate fees, not the whole amount.
It's like for ages like this, because they have to take pictures, they have to pay for the advertisement, the agent has to go there many times. So this is not that I'm saying that it's okay, but it's like there are costs behind that. So that's why people sometimes do offer the properties themselves, so you can not to use the agent if you find the property that is offered directly by landlord. Yeah.
But then you are prone to scams when you do that because you don't know if it's a real thing or not. I've seen a lot of women falling for these scams.
You have to be more careful.
Yeah.
Pay attention not to pay money to someone who is not.
I've also seen the extra costs that they usually charge.
Yeah.
Can you clarify that?
The monthly payment is divided into 2 parts. One part is the rent for the property, and the other one is advance payment for utilities, like electricity, gas, water, garbage, elevator, cleaning in the hallways of the building. But usually It's advance payment that after there is a annual settlement. So if you consume more, you have to pay what you have consumed. If you consume less, so you just get some of the money back. So it's at the end of the year, they do take the numbers of how much you consumed, and it takes like 2 or 3 months to get the final settlement of everything. So you can expect in most places in April to get this yearly settlement of the services for the last year.
This is the thing that I'm having a hard time to understand, because normally in the real world this is how it works. You use your electricity every month, you get how much you used for the past month and you pay, so on and so on and so on. So I am always confused with how it's calculated or how it works here, that you pay a fixed amount for the whole year and then you get some returns, or you asked to pay extra at the end of the year. Why can't they do it in the simpler way of like every month you know how much I used and I can reduce my usage, or you know?
Well, you can check your consumption yourself, because you can see the electrometer or gas meter or water meter, and you can check how much you consumed. But most of these meters are not yet in the way that they can see on long distance what is the exact consumption every month. So there is a person who comes once a year to see and to check, and they do the calculation based on that. So this is why they cannot do it every month. But it's being changed. There's a new law about water meters that in 2 or 3 years everyone will have to install a water meter that can be read on long distance, so no one would be coming to check, and it will be possible to have like monthly calculations of your consumption.
It's a lot to take in, because I think that's why it causes all these problems people have with this extra cost. For example, there's this scam that they're talking about where the landlord will undercut the extra cost so that people can live in the house or take the house. Say the house is 15,000 and the extra cost are 3,000. So you're like, okay, that's pretty affordable. That's 18,000 a month. And you move in, but it turns out maybe he undercutted the extra fees a lot. So every month you pay 3,000 when you're supposed to be paying 4.5 or 5,000. And here comes year end, and you have to pay this extra cost but at once.
This is not done expressly. It's just the situation on the market as it develops. Because 1 year ago, before the war started, so the price of the gas was like 4 times less than it is now. The price of the electricity was again 4 or 5 times less than it was now. So the prices went up so many times that no one could expect these rise in the prices.
The utilities, do they go into your name when you move in an apartment?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Water is registered on the building. If you're renting a house, separate house, it can go in your name.
Okay.
But if you are living in a block of flats, so it's registered on the building, and it never goes on your name.
But if they transfer it into my name, it means I don't have to pay the extra fees prior, because it's in my name anyway. So if I leave, the debt is in my name.
Yes, it's on your name. That's most of the reason why landlords transfer the electricity and gas to tenants. On the other hand, if you do not pay the debt, they are not going to transfer it to a new tenant. So at the end, it makes the problem to the landlord, and it's up to him to settle the debt if he wants to transfer the electricity to a new tenant, and then to collect the money from the previous tenant who did not pay.
So this is how it works in my country. I'm gonna stick with water because electricity changed. It's a different system altogether. So let's go with water. So Martina, you are living here right now. The water is under your name. If you decide to move and rent, say next door or somewhere else in Brno, your meter number is yours. When you get to Brno, you will still have that same number. And when you go to the water company, your debt is in the system and it transfers to wherever you are living. So it always follows you wherever you go, and the landlord doesn't have to deal with that, because whether it's a new tenant, the new tenant comes with their own debt from wherever they come from.
Oh, that's completely different.
It's great for everyone.
Yeah, and it might be a much better solution, but it's not. Here it is tied to the property, not to the person, but to the property.
And the electricity, we do it different. So electricity, we used to do it the same way that you do, but not the whole year. We did monthly, like every month you get a bill, you pay. But people obviously don't pay, so they would accumulate a lot of bill from previous months, and then the electricity company has to come and switch it off, and it's a lot of hassle. Then you have to go to the company and pay a fee because now they've switched it off. You know, the whole process, right? So they decided this is not working, this system. They switched into a prepaid system. In South Africa and Swaziland now we use prepaid system. So how it works is you buy units, you buy it like you buy gas. So if you can afford 200 Czech crowns, you buy 200 Czech crowns. If you can afford units for 1,000 Czech crowns, then you buy units for 1,000 Czech crowns. And you can see them as they go down, and then you have to load again. But you can load anywhere. You can load on your phone, and it takes money from your account. You can load the units at a gas station, in the shop, anywhere you can load it. So you are not indebted to the electricity company because it's prepaid. You buy first, use later.
So you have to pay first.
Yes, you pay first, then
unless you pay
first.
Yeah.
If you don't pay, then you are in the dark.
Oh, yes, that's an option, and that's even better protection of the companies.
It's better for everyone. The company gets the money on time. You use however you want. You see if I'm overspending, the units are going down. Okay, maybe I should watch my usage. Basically, they did it because of the earth hour rates. Like you're trying to protect the earth and you save power. Hopefully, at some point they will get to a point of prepaid, so you don't have to pay these extra fees and whatnot. In terms of the papers that the agent will ask for you before you move into a flat, is a standard procedure for them to ask for your work contract or ask for an ID prior. And I don't mean like they already picked you, but just so they can have a reservation.
Yeah, they need your personal data to conclude the draft the contract, and they are checking all the tenants in the systems whether everything is fine. So they need to have your ID, and whether they are asking for work contract, it's not that usual. I've seen it was a landlord who asked his tenant for like 12 months bank statements see how the tenant is living, where he's spending money. And it was really crazy, but it's not usual. This is not usual.
Yeah.
And this is not something that is different for Czech people and expats. It's the same. So
speaking of expats and Czech people, do you think there's discrimination against foreigners when it comes to renting apartments? Because usually they'll be like, I've been looking for an apartment for 3 months, and every time the real estate will tell me the landlord chose someone else, or they will put an ad and just write, we do not accept foreigners because it's harder or it's impossible to transfer the utilities in their name. Is it impossible?
Yeah, as we have discussed before, the situation on the market is really crazy at the moment. And from my experience, it's like for one apartment, there are 200 people willing to be living in that apartment. So only one person can be chosen, and 199% are getting their no. So there are some landlords who do not want to have foreigners for different reasons. I've seen landlords who do not speak any languages. So for them it's really difficult to have a contract with someone they cannot talk to. So this is one of the reasons. And then there are some people who just choose someone else, and it's always there are some people who are refused. So
yeah, and I think it's also easier for them to rent to locals, because then they don't have to do this proof of accommodation for the foreign police, or when you want to get a visa or stuff like that, they have to be involved. So
yeah, that's true. Well, from my personal experience, I'm a landlord and now I'm a tenant as well, so I can see it from both sides. And with the registration for electricity, I know that Prague, the main Prague company for electricity, they have problems with registering foreigners. But there's an easy solution to that in the rent agreement there's only name, date of birth and the address of the property. Like this, Prague does not have problem to register, and then it's possible to transfer electricity to foreigners without any problems.
Okay, let's talk third-party insurance. Who is responsible for that kind of insurance, the landlord or the tenant?
Well, for me both. because each of them is responsible for his part.
Yes.
Because the landlord should have the insurance if anything with the property gets wrong and there's a damage, and the tenant again should have this third-party liability insurance if he causes any damage to the property or to neighbors. So again, from my experience, I recommend to everyone, being a tenant or landlord or owner, to have this third-party liability insurance. It does not cost so much and it can save you a lot of money in case there's a problem.
Yeah. Before we move on to the horror topic of landlords and their stories, I will ask one last question to share the common sites where people can find properties and avoid scams.
Yeah, I would go to Reality. This is the main website for all real estate advertisements. And if you want to avoid agent's fee, you go to Reality. This is specialized for direct renting, so they're only accepting ads from direct landlords and not from agents.
Speaking of Reality, I don't know if you heard that when you meet in person, you find that it's a real estate and they're like, yeah, you have to pay fees of this certain amount because they didn't put them there because the website doesn't allow it.
So, well, yes, this is not fair and that should not happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe people should report that. So you can report that to the
you can,
website.
and you should report it because there are some people who are cheating.
Yeah. Okay. The landlords. I think that's the hottest topic.